Hello and welcome to the Noona's Noonchi Deep Dive, being introspective with K-dramas from a mental health perspective. For the month of February, I wanted to explore with you relationships. I think of February as it's Heart Health Month in the US, so heart relationships, and then it's Valentine's Day in the US, so it's, you're thinking romantic relationships, but then family relationships and other loving relationships, right? Who's your Valentine? Be my Valentine. So let's look at K-dramas, this is my perspective, that show examples of relationships that I want you to see. Does that make sense? So let's start with Bulgasal. Bulgasal. Yeah, you're thinking, what? From what I know of this K-drama, it's about this man turned immortal monster, lives 600 years. There's like this curse based on a Korean folklore. Yes, it is all of that. It is, I would say, supernatural thriller, sci-fi, a fantasy, not my normal genre of K-dramas. However, I was watching it in the background because my husband was thinking it was very interesting. And then I was like, wait, that's a touching scene, And then I kind of got sucked in until you see the monsters and all that. Yeah, it's a little graphic, and some of you may love that. I do not. But there are some very great mental health nuggets. I say that. They're in all K-dramas, and I was actually pleasantly surprised to see it in Bulgasal. So I am watching it. It is almost done, and I find the story to be fascinating, but what I really like is actually the relationships. So let's start with the first deep dive on relationships for the month of February. What constitutes a family? What makes a family? What is a family? Let's start there. Well, you know that I'm a family therapist. So everything's about the family system, but also the system, whether it's the community system, organizational system, school system, wherever you're at, right? Friend system. Because I look at people in context of where the interactions they have with people, because you don't live isolated. I mean, I hope you do not. That's just not good for your mental health. We're interacting with somebody, or we should. Now, family is at the heart health of your life. But these days, I would say there's different definitions of what makes a family. So I'm not going to be technical here because there are the traditional definitions of family, conventional definitions of family, especially according to Asian culture, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what constitutes a family, what makes a family for the sake of your mental health, to help you with your emotional and psychological and social well-being. Well, how do you define your family? Family could be who you feel closest to, who you live with. That's probably the most common thing, right? But here's the critical thing. It only constitutes 2 or more people to make a family. Now, we all imagine this great family, 50-some people. It can be a little chaotic, especially in an Asian family. But being surrounded by loved ones, their family members, the more the merrier is what you see. And sometimes the holidays that we just came from can be difficult because it's just you and one person. I get all that. So I'm not just saying that you just need to find one other person that's your family. But I want to make it clear that if you're searching for what makes a family to you, or what makes you feel like you have a family and it doesn't look traditional or conventional, that's A-okay. So I want to define that for you. So let's look at what Bulgasal teaches us about this. I keep laughing because it's interesting. But wow, there's some moments I started tearing up in this show because it was a lot about family relationships, and guess what? None of them conventional, because this is a fantasy, supernatural, so they're related by being immortals, like the Bulgasal, which is like a monster based on a Korean folklore, which I really don't know much about, fighting another bad Bulgasal, that's always the case, but that bad Bulgasal is not always bad, you know what I'm saying? And then there's that connection between reincarnated people and one another's lives. Reincarnation's big in this, but it shows the family connection, but it does not necessarily look like birth connections, blood related. No, not at all. Marriage, no. Adopted, perhaps. So unconventional. And I want to point that out because that's good in that sense. In episode 11, about halfway through, the younger sister of the main girl, Noona, says something I think very poignant. And let's start here. I'm going to point out 2 things about what she says. She says she was feeling lonely with just her and Mrs. Lee. This is the shaman. Shaman turned mother figure. It's hard to explain unless you're watching, but that she's also part of their family. Again, non-traditional, non-conventional, not related by blood per se, or birth or marriage. But she says that she felt like she turned to I think the word that she used was like basically toxic men is how I would refer to it. Look to toxic male relationships, couple relationships, or to feel fulfilled, to feel like she had a family. She was saying things like, yeah, I knew they were not good for me, right? This is she's not saying all this, but this is the illusion, right? She was very self-aware. That's also very critical in having healthy relationships and boundaries. But she said, yeah, I would turn to these men I knew weren't good for me. They were toxic, unhealthy, almost like disgusting, bad men, basically, the bad guys, right? The bad boys, because I wanted to feel like I was part of a family. That's what she was missing. What do you think is missing in your family life? Do you perhaps are surrounded by blood-related family members, but don't feel connected? That can happen. Feel very disconnected perhaps, but feel very connected to another family, whatever that looks like to you, whether it's your college family, school, organization, job, right? It doesn't have to look a specific way. Yes, there are traditions and the conventional definitions, but these days, I would rather have you healthier, happier, better boundaries with people you define as your family. You can define your own family. So if you find yourself, going into these toxic couple relationships, because we're entering February, the relationships you're in, whether they're friends, family, colleagues, acquaintances, and you find that you really don't like them, but then you're still involved with them, ask yourself why. What is your Noonchi telling you about this relationship? This younger sister, forget her name, an actress, Kwan Nona's younger sister, and again, not necessarily blood related is what I'm gathering, right? They're all reincarnated, okay? And she specifically says, she doesn't say this literally, but her Noonchi was telling her, yeah, I knew that I was getting into these bad couple relationships, but I kept doing it because that's what I wanted to feel like I had a family. And then she shared this in context that they had all moved for safety reasons. Under bad circumstances, they moved to escape the bad Bulgasal, okay? By the good Bulgasal who was protecting them, and they were all together. I think there was 5 of them together under one roof. Again, unconventional, but they felt close. And you see pockets of touchingness in this horror K-drama that I'm starting to really enjoy that part of it and seeing how many dimensions there are to K-dramas, first of all, in their stories, but also showing that emotion. So getting back to that, 2 constitutes a family. You only need 2 to constitute a family, whatever that definition is for you. However, that family, even if it's just 2, can be quality family. So perhaps there's 2 and you don't feel that connection. Maybe it's not the right relationship. Or you're in a part of a family of 10 people in a house, full of lots of excitement, but stress, and you still feel disconnected, then reevaluate that. More doesn't mean better. Okay, that's just the conventional definition. People may look at you and think, oh, that's so cool, you live with that many people. Oh, it must never be boring, you must never be lonely. But you can be quite lonely in family relationships, in any relationships, in a romantic relationship, marital relationship, partner relationship, whatever that is. So 2 or more, and then looking at Bulgasal saying, I just wanted a family so bad, I was just entering into these unhealthy relationships with men. Is that you? What's your Noonchi telling you then? And if it's difficult to get out of that, then you need to work slowly. I always talk about weaning. You can't go cold turkey. Bye, see ya. It might be like, slowly, I'm not going to give my heart to this person. I'm going to wean slowly, kind of start distancing slowly. Maybe it's not one interaction a day, but it's like one interaction every other day until you slowly get used to the fact, because it's hard for you to break off a toxic relationship. Trust me. Even with family members, but you can do it. And again, remember, nothing's permanent. Nothing here is linear. It's not like you detox from a toxic relationship and you're like, I'm good to go now. No, that may be a constant struggle because you're trying to fill an emptiness of a family, of a connection that you may be missing. That's the other part. I need you to look at that. What's your Noonchi telling you about why you're going to these unhealthy relationships, perhaps? What's missing? And most of the time, especially that's why this Bulgasal, I really think this one conversation was very critical. She wanted a family. She wanted to feel safe, have this joy within just feeling loved, right? That's the illusion, because they did lose their family. And actually, now I think about it, maybe they are blood related, the 2 sisters. It gets confusing, just to be honest with you. You guys can let me know if that's the case. But they lost some family members, blood family members, and she was feeling that isolation. And perhaps that's the place you're in. It can be many different situations for you. I'm not going to assume one situation, not at all, but I'm going to say this. 2 or more constitutes a family. It doesn't have to look traditional, conventional, especially in the Asian culture. Think about what benefits your mental health, because family can make or break your mental health. They can really be there for you when you need and boost your mental health, but they can also be a critical part of your mental health decline. And I see that, especially now when a lot has changed in the face of the pandemic. So my challenge is you, ask again, what is your Noonchi telling you about the family I want? What am I missing? What do I wish to have? You ask yourself those questions and I believe they will come. Just give yourself time. Thanks for watching Noona's Noonchi Deep Dive. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button to get notified of new videos to come.